اللهم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي. We discussed last week the Battle of Mu'tah. It is up in the from part of the Byzantine area. I call it Byzantine or Byzantine or Byzantine. The Romans. So the battle took place in Buzrah, just south of Damascus. So we stopped when they were attacked, when the three main Sahaba, Zayd ibn Haritha, Abdullah, Ja'far ibn Abu Talib, and Abdullah ibn al-Waha died. So and then they were retreating a little bit, and they appointed, when they had chance, they appointed Abdullah Khalid ibn Walid, the leader of the army. And as you could remember last week, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam only appointed three people. The first one, they appointed Zayd ibn Haritha, and if he died, Ja'far ibn Abi Talib will take over, and if he dies, Abdullah ibn al-Wahhab will take over. So all of them died. So immediately when Khalid was in charge, he pushed a lot of people forward, a surprise attack with a lot of people, so they can retreat a little bit. So when they retreated a little bit, he reorganized the army. And he put some archers on top of some hills, so the archers will just shoot all the time to keep the people away. So while they were doing that, they were slowly sort of retreating, because the surprise attack took the Romans a little bit further away. So they could, in any case, nightfall. So they were hiding behind towards the afternoon. So they were hiding behind a hill. So while they were hiding behind the hill, Khalid ibn Walid told them that that they are retreating. They're going to retreat further and further away, but we're going to put people on one line, and they will make dust in the sand to say as it looks like that they're getting reinforcement. They're getting reinforcements along the way. So they were making so they couldn't see it. They couldn't. The bows and arrows could not reach the people, but in any case, they could see in the far there is movement. So they didn't know what the movement was, but the story went out there. There's reinforcements coming, so they didn't go forward. So when they were far away enough that they retreat totally, and they went back to Medina. So so the question is then asked: was the Battle of Mu'tah, was it a victory or defeat? There's sort of three opinions if it was a victory or a defeat. The first one to say is that there are about 15 of the 3,000 soldiers died. So in that sense, they could see it is some sort of a victory, because there was not the Muslims were 3,000, but according to the records, some people say up to 100,000. But generally, people will argue that most of the people say there were about 20,000 Roman soldiers. So in any case, it was a battle that the Muslims will lose in any case. So it was a strategic retreat. When they were far enough, they moved back. So that's one argument. So in terms of casualties, it was only 15 died. So in this sense, it was a victory. And the other one said, when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam heard about all those people died, he said, the sword of Allah is going to take over, and He will ensure victory for us. So just by Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, no, it's a victory. No, it's a victory. So it can be on different levels. Maybe it was not a victory in terms of military might, but it was terms of how they could source out their opponents now. So they were the first time they went as far as Syria, as northern. So most of the battles was in the southern side, Makkah, in all those in the areas around Makkah. So it was the first time they went on about a 700-kilometer sort of sojourn into the north, into Syria. So that was the first time that they went that far up. So in that sense, it was not a military victory, but it was show that they could move further up. And of course, those are the first opinion that it was a victory. The second opinion, the second option or the second view that people had, it was a defeat, because the three main leaders, Abu Ja'far, Zayd ibn Haritha, and Abdullah ibn Rawaha died. So there's a people that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam appointed. So in that sense, the historians and the people who wrote the Seerah said it was because the three leaders died, and the people that carried the flag, the banner, he or they, no, they were totally demolished. So in that sense, people will argue that it was a defeat. And of course, the third one said it was neither defeat or nor a victory, obviously. So in that sense, because in the Romans also retreated, and the Romans didn't follow up. So if that's why they retreated slowly, because if the Romans saw them retreating, they would have attacked again. So they did all the dust and stuff like that. So the Romans will think there's a lot of people. So if the Romans went behind them, that's how a horse works sometimes, most of the times, is when people are retreating, they will chase away further. So nobody chased each other away also. So in that sense, both retreated, and not one of the people went forward and chased the other army away. So it was the same as Uhud. No, Uhud was neither victory or neither loss, because the Muslim won first, then they retreated, and then they went further backwards, and then the Quraysh retreated further without the Muslims going after them, because the Muslims know they were highly, there were a lot of people died, so it was not in the interest of chasing after the Quraysh after the Battle of Uhud. So when they reached Makkah, when they reached Medina, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam heard about the story that one of the Sahaba, he asked about one Sahaba, Salama, why I haven't seen him? Because they say that he's staying in his house because people are mocking him. They say that he ran away. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam then made the announcement that they didn't retreat. They were just coming back to reorganize themselves for a future fight again. So it was. So in that sense, you can say, oh, what is a legitimate? Because in any case, the highest form of death is a martyr. So if you take that example, if people, you know you're going to defeat it, you go foolishly into an army. If you are one and you go, I'm going to fight that 20 people now. That is not legitimate, or that's not a legitimate fight that you will fight, because you will die in any case. So martyrdom is it is to say that you have to fight if there's a chance of you winning. So that is foolish martyrdom, sort of. If you want to mention it that way. So there's a lot of valorization, in martyrdom, because you fight a good fight. You fight the opponents, but if you are going forward and you know you're going to die, that's foolishness. You should have a chance to beat the opponent to a certain extent, or they can retreat, or they will fight back. But if you just go foolishly into I'm not saying that I'm bringing down the rewards of a martyr, but if you know you're going to lose, is it better to retreat and go back and reorganize yourself and go on a strike at a further date or a few months' time or stuff like that? So in that sense, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said they just came back and they will retreat and reform, and they will go back in the future. So it was not a defeat, it was not a loss, it was just a strategic move. So by that way, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sort of calmed the people that were mocking the Sahaba, because they said you are running away from the battlefield, and it was not really running away. It was foolishness in any case to go forward and fight till you die, even you know you're gonna die. So there's a story which I didn't touch on last week, but I thought, no, I'm gonna bring it up now. Is that when the messengers came back, that the people are dying. The family of Ja'far ibn Abu Talib, they were wailing. They were not crying, they were wailing, wailing. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sent a messenger to go to the family, tell them, stop wailing. And then, as I said, no, they wanted to, the messenger went back 3 times to tell them they must stop wailing, because that is not acceptable in Islam. Wailing is something said, oh, what's going to happen to me now? My breadwinner is gone. What's going to happen to us? That's sort of kufr also. But if you cry, that's enough. But people, and Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, in any case, said in a hadith, that is one of the things that paganism that will stay in my ummah is the wailing of people dying. So it is not something that you have control over. So it just so that's why after the 3rd time, when the messenger came back, said no, they don't want to stop wailing. Nabi Sallam said no, it's fine. Let them. So after 3 years, but during that time, he told them to go and tell the people to go and feed the family for 3 days. And I think that's sort of the argument that people nowadays have, that you have to look after. And I think that was in our tradition before also, that when people used to die, we used to go read it at the people's houses, Quran and stuff like that. And mommy used to always give us something to give to the family. If it was milk, if it was something that we took every night. But that tradition is sort of, in any case, it's not good to go to the family and the family must treat you or give food to you. If you go to a family that are in the first 3 days, you must give them something. You must bring food to them. So they were, and I think, I don't know, to a certain extent, in the early history of Islam in Cape Town, the whole community will come together and they will take food for the first 3 days. So the family can overcome the grief. So after the 3rd day, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam went to the family, because he didn't go in the first 3 days. So that brings up a question sometimes, is that people try to fine-tune their sunnah or the stuff like that. People are in the worst time in their life. So said, you mustn't do this, you mustn't do that. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, even if it was not allowed, he allowed them to wail. And people try to be very specific in times of death. I've heard people said, no, you must bury a person. If a family is coming from somewhere else, the family must, even the family is going to be there in an hour's time, 2 hours' time. Somebody told me, actually, when I'm going to bury my mother, the first, doesn't matter if my family is there or not. I'm just going to bury her. So that's also a sort of foolishness. And I think people try to fine-tune the iman, the sunnah in the wrong places, in the wrong time sometimes. So in that sense, we should be, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, let people do what they want to do, not impose restrictions on them, even if he know it was wrong for them to wail. He didn't go to them in the first 3 days to tell them they must keep quiet. So it is a lot of things that can be said. People try to be very strict in the most difficult circumstances. When people are in the most difficult circumstances, leave them, and afterwards you can tell them. But no, don't tell them you should do that. This is a sunnah. You must bury people. In any case, if you live in a desert, if you leave a body too long, it will start decaying. So in that sense, it is not a sunnah. It was just how things were done in a desert, in a desert place. It's not to say that as soon as possible the person must be buried or laid to rest, or what you couldn't, or what you're going to do in any case. So people try to be very difficult when try to be difficult in difficult circumstances. When it's difficult, be compassionate and be a bit more flexible when some stuff come. And I think death is one of the most difficult times of a person's life. So during that time, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam also he told them that he will look after the children of Ja'far now, But during that time, Muhammad was the oldest son of Abdullah ibn Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, and he told them, "You just look like your grandfather." So it's sort of cheered up the person, and he told the other Abdullah, "You look like me." So in that sense, you can see that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam tried to comfort them while he was speaking to them, to say, if first they were the hair wasn't combed, so he brought in somebody to wash their hair first, and then comb the hair and cut the hair, if it was necessary. So in that sense, he brought that comfort to them, and he brought them flexibility to them, but he was also firm to say, after the 3 days, don't wail anymore. You can cry till how you cry, but don't cry out loud, or don't when I think the Arab is called, so they will make that sound. So when they're wailing, it's not a silent cry or cry that people can hear around you. It's a loud cry that everybody in a certain area can hear. So that was Zayd Zayd ibn Haritha had also a son, Usama bin Zayd, and every time when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to see Usama, he used to cry. His tears used to flow from his cheeks, and when he saw Osama, because Osama, of course, was like his grandson, because Zayd ibn Haritha grew up in his own. So there's another incident that are noted, is there was a Yemeni among the people. So he was also a very fearless fighter. So he saw one of the generals of the Roman army, and he went straight for the general. And of course, the general had the best of cloaks on, and the best of armor and stuff like that. So he was fighting the general, and he beat the general. So according to that time, the law of the booty, when you kill someone, you can take all his stuff. But when Khalid ibn Walid saw this, he encouraged the person, no, you cannot take everything. You must give something back to the general fund. And then this Yemeni was not very pleased. And he said, I'm going to complain to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam when I get back. So when they get back to Medina, he went to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and said, no, this is a rule according to you, but Khalid ibn Walid, he broke the law. So no, he broke the law of the booty. Of course, this is the first battle that Khalid was in, so he didn't know what happened before. But according to his view, he was a general in charge, and according to his ijtihad, his assessment of it, because it was so much from one person, that person cannot take anything. So Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam called Khalid ibn Walid and said, no, is this true what this person said? Yes, it's true. And then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam told Khalid, give everything back to him. And this guy starts, then he told Khalid, I told you so. I'm going to complain to you. So then Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam asked, why did you say that now? And then he related the story, what happened in the battlefield. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam got very angry to say, you should not have done that now. Mock Nabi, because if my generals, if they've got something wrong with them, keep it with you. But if they've got something right, then you tell everybody. Because the way you mocked Khalid ibn Walid, that I'm going to tell the Prophet, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam took everything back again. He told Khalid ibn Walid that you must take all the stuff that you give to him now, take it back, because that's sort of arrogance, and that even you can even read into here that even if the person is right, you should not be arrogant about I told you so. So that's one of the worst phrases that you can use. I told you so. When you're right, you know you're right. You know where you're on the justice. So why do you have to still to enforce it, to sort of put the person down? To I don't know what the English word for claim here is, but you put a person down to say I told you so, and then the person feels actually very bad. So in that sense, Nabi became angry. He's arrogant, but he was right. He was on the right path. But even if you're in the right path, that tells another story. If you're wrong and you're arrogant, is worse. But if you're right and you're still and you're arrogant about it, that's that is that's also a great not a sin, but that's not how you should conduct your life. You should never tell a person, "I told you so." Anyone, you feel already bad about it when you erred, when you made something wrong, which it maybe hardly even really didn't know about it. So you can forgive him for that. But sometimes you are you know you're on the, you are wrong, but you're still going forward and going into the wrong direction. So yeah, so it's both ways. Both ways are bad. If you're wrong and you're still being arrogant, and if you're right, you are arrogant also. Maybe that's the no, that's the worst part of it. According to Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, that's the worst part of arrogance. When you are when you are proven to be right. When Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam proved him right, but he saw himself fit in talking down on Khalid ibn Walid. So as I said, last week, the the Romans, because they had a history. They also there was Theophanes. He was one of the history writers, historians of the Roman Empire. So he wrote about the battle, and he said the battle there were four emirs, four emirs that passed away. I know there were four emirs that were charged, but we know that from the record it was only three. But I think he included Khalid ibn Walid, into the stuff, because he said the reason why the battle was not fought properly, because a person by the name of Khalid ibn Walid was called Saifullah, the sword of Allah. So even in that time, during that time, it was about the 800s, they knew about Khalid ibn Walid already, what Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam named him. And incidentally, Khalid ibn Walid didn't die in battle. He died in bed. And while he was lying down, he sort of complained to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to say, "I'm the warrior. If you look at my body, there's not one place of two fingers where there's not a mark, where there's not a scar on all the battles that I fight. And I'm dying as a person that is a soldier, I'm dying in bed." But there's some sort of wisdom behind it also. He was the sword of Allah. The sword of Allah cannot be defeated. If he was defeated on the battleground, that would send some sort of a negative message. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in his infinite wisdom and mercy, he let Khalid ibn Walid die in bed. He died in his home. And of course, there's so many stories about the value and the bravery of Khalid ibn Walid, how he fought all the battles and all the military strategies that he had. And they were never an army that was more than the enemy army. So, but they always conquered all the armies because of his strategy on the battlefield. So yeah, just back to the first point. In the first sojourn into the northern parts of Arabia, in the first time they fighting Christians. All the other people were pagan, sort of pagan, and the Jews. But the first time that they go further up, they fought the Christian army, and that sort of. So in any case, the first empire that fall was the Roman Empire, was the Romans. So you can make the argument that this battle that took place was sort of a front runner, as I said in the beginning, to say just to test the water sort of what's happening in the northern parts. So the first big army that were conquered by the Muslims were the Romans in those areas of Syria. We call it Levant, Sham, Bilad Sham. Levant is a bigger area which includes Lebanon. But if you talk about Bilad Sham, it is Syria, Palestine, and parts of Jordan. that was what Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, they call it. He always used to talk about Bilad al-Sham, the lands of Sham, and Syria, Jordan, Palestine, the current day Bilad al-Sham. So yeah, so this is the last. This is the last. This took place in the beginning of the eighth year of the Hijrah. So after about 4 or 5 months, yeah, during Ramadan, in the eighth year of the Hijrah, the Fath Makkah took place, the conquer of Makkah. So the next few, maybe the whole of Ramadan, we're going to focus on the conquer of Makkah. It's going to take us to maybe 4 lectures, because there's a build up to the conquest of Makkah also, and then afterwards, and of course, people tend to mix the two up, the Fath Makkah with Hujjatul Wida, the large Hajj of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The last Hajj is in the 10th year of the Hijrah. And people tend to mix up we discussed about a few time ago also, they mix up the Umratul Wida, Umratul Qada, the Umrah that they perform after Hudaybiyah, they mix it up with the Fath Makkah also. Because they say the first time that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam went back to Makkah was for the Umrah, but he went directly a year after Hudaybiyah. He went for the Umrah, and a year after that, the Umrah al-Quda was in the 7th year, and the Fath Makkah was in the 8th year, and the Hujjatul Wida, the last Hajj of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, took place in the 10th year of the Hijrah. So it's about another maybe 10-12 lectures that we have left of the whole of the Seerah, then we will be finished, inshallah. So by the middle of the year, I think we will be finished with the Seerah, inshallah. Subhanallah, بارك الله في القرآن العظيم ونفعني من آيات وذكر الحكيم. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله ولي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.